changes which are to come can only come as a result of a program worked out by black people. And for black people to be able to work out a program, they need to defeat the one main element in politics which was working against them, and this was a psychological feeling of inferiority.
Hello and welcome back to the third episode of Young, Aware and Becoming. Today we're going to continue having conversations around black consciousness, psychological liberation, identity, freedom. And today we have a new guest. Can you please introduce yourself and tell us why you're interested in this topic?
Yes, hi, my name is Siyabonga Ngoma, studying construction studies. I'm from Mpumalanga, Kwamhlanga. I'm Ndebele.
That's good.
Yes. I'm interested in this topic because I think these are things that are not talked about enough. These are things that people need to be aware of. I was actually very pleased when I saw the invitation on WhatsApp, one of the WhatsApp groups I'm in. So I was like, okay, Steve Biko, I love Steve Biko. I studied his work over the years, watched his movement of black consciousness. So I got interested because I like to talk on these topics and have my opinion on them. Yes.
Okay, that's nice. That's interesting. So what does black consciousness mean to you?
I think it's a meaning of being aware of your place in the society as a black person.
Okay.
As your role in the society as a black person, your integrity, your individuality. I think it's being aware, and also not only being aware, but what are you doing about your consciousness? What are you doing about what you are aware of?
Taking action.
Yes.
Okay, understand. Okay, so you said being conscious of you as a black person in the society and stuff like that. So what does being black mean to you? Is it like the color of your skin, or is it like the state of being, or what?
I think the color of the skin matters.
Okay.
But I think it's more of a state of being, because I mean, when you're black, you can sometimes not be fully like black as in color. You get what I mean? Some people have a light skin. Some people are more light skinned. They look others, white. You get what I mean? Yeah. They look colored. You get what I mean? So I think it's more. I should define it as more of a state of being.
A state of being.
The color, yeah. But the color is what people see when you appear. It's an appearance.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so Steve Biko said that it's a quote, right? He said that the most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. You get what I'm saying? So basically what he's saying is that the oppressor oppresses the mind first. You get what I'm saying? And then if we do want to liberate ourselves, we have to liberate our mind, hence psychological liberation. So do you think as young black South African we truly freed our mind?
No.
Okay. Why do you say that?
I think there's a misconception of being free of mind, because if you're mind liberated, are you mind liberated in your own terms or in the terms of what the black consciousness is about? You get what I mean? Because you can be free to think, oh, I can do anything, no one can tell me what to do, but you can also be liberated in terms of the deserving mind of what was Steve Biko was pushing. You have to be aware that you deserve to be on the same state as everyone else as a black person. You get what I mean? So I think sometimes there is a misconception. I think we are not fully freed. Some people are aware, but we are not fully freed.
They have not fully freed themselves from the oppression.
Yes.
So what do you think can be done then to free ourselves from this kind of oppression as like young black South Africans?
I think educating ourselves on these things, studying history, studying where people like Steve Biko came from, what was their point, the main point, not the point you misinterpret, but what was the main point. Try to understand and don't take from their point what is only relevant to you. You get what I mean? Because now being free, people view it as something else. Because Steve Biko, what he was pushing was also communal freeness, like we all be free
as a community,
economically, psychologically, and everything. But now people push freeness for themselves, and they take the freeness part, but they take away the other part of what we was trying to push. So it's not really convenient that way for everyone. There's something in economics that we call social benefit. It must benefit almost everyone.
So what you're saying is that we have individuals who are conscious and who are actually working on freeing themselves, right? But the thing is, they're missing the point of like the collectiveness of the whole. That when you finally free yourself, you also have to free the people, the other black people. I think that's a very great point. So because you said that, I want us to touch on West Eastern Black excellence. What does Black excellence mean to you? And
I think the first definition is black success. I think seeing like a lot of black people being successful, a lot of black people being creative, them being at standpoint of fighting against oppression, winning battles, you get what I mean, in terms of getting into positions that we were not put in in apartheid times, in oppression times. Maybe, for example, first black president, you get what I mean, stuff like that, like doing things that black people were not given an opportunity to do, or they were not expected to do. You get what I mean?
I understand. So do you think that black excellence is something that should be celebrated? Like, do you think we should be celebrating black excellence?
I mean, it should. It's a stepping stone. It provides momentum. Like, for example, if we celebrate people doing things, black people doing things, then in your mind, it kind of also instills a thought in your mind, oh, I can also do this. Or maybe something that I thought I couldn't do, I could do this. If a black person can be a president, maybe I can own a company. You get what I mean? It has to be celebrated. It kind of instills momentum in black people to say, oh, we can actually do this.
So what you're saying is it motivates people to say, you know what, I want to be part of the black excellence, let's say community. I want to be celebrated also for coming out of this oppression. You get what I'm saying? Okay, so you said something about education, right? You said the first way to free our mind is to educate ourselves, right? So how do we do that? How do we educate? Like, where does this education start from? Does it start from our houses, or does it start from primary school? Where does it start actually?
That's a great question. I'm trying to think. I think as a person, you must be willing to learn first. And know, because people always say stuff like, maybe you can go to school. I mean, you can go to school, but from grade 1 to grade 12, I've never learned anything about black people. You get what I mean? I think we only read a book in grade 12, the famous book, My Children, My Africa. That's when I got a little bit of knowledge of how much oppression was to black people. I think if you are willing to learn, you can research about it. on stuff like Google. Google will tell you, maybe even provide a few links to YouTube videos of people talking about these things. This video as well, they might find that, you get what I mean? So you must be willing to learn first and then research about what you want to learn about. And there are books, to be honest, there are books about Steve Biko, Nelson Mandela, those people. Buy those books, read those books, see what they are saying.
Okay, so, but how about like teaching working children, right, at home? How about like the working education around freedom and oppression and stuff like that? Don't you think it will make sense for it to start at home? Like when they're growing up, they're not gonna teach them like everything about being oppressed and stuff like that, but they are just making them aware that, okay, this is the kind of state that we're living in and stuff like that, so that maybe it motivates them to actually want to learn about these things. You get what I'm saying? Because I feel like as much as you would say, okay, some people, you have to want to learn for you to actually take action to learn.
Yes.
Some people are not even aware.
Oh,
you know
yes,
what I'm
that's
saying?
true.
The first thing is someone needs to, to make them aware. Say, you know what, this is the kind of state that we're living in. And I do understand where you're coming from. And I do understand that, all the YouTube videos, the books and stuff like that. So do you think like the system, right, the South African system at the moment allows that kind of education?
No, as I said, in my education from grade 1 to grade 10, I never learned about those things. So I think your point is quite good, but then is the problem is, how do we get that into action? You get what I mean? Because now, if it's gonna start at home, you would need someone like me, who's your brother, who's your uncle, who's gonna tell you about these things. But if you live with your parents, I mean, parents don't really talk about these things, you get what I mean? And then you want to learn it at school. Obvious, parents have this mentality of whatever you need to learn as a child, you have to learn at school. Then you go to school and they give you books to read that are not even relevant to you. We learned a lot about Hitler in history grade.
We don't really
7,
use it.
8, 9. Exactly. What's the point? You get what I mean? It has nothing to do with us. You get what I mean? So it now brings in the questions of how do we tell the system to teach the children about these things. You get what I mean? So that's a lot of work itself.
It is a lot of work, but I personally think that it can be done, right? And it's something that should be done, right? And I agree with you, right? Like when we go to our system, primary school, high school, we don't really learn about these things, and so we're not aware that these are the kind of things that we need to learn. So let's talk about education in a sense of like university, like higher institutions. Do you think this kind of education system allows us to learn about this kind of oppression?
Yes. When you arrive in varsity, you become exposed to a lot of things. You see the SRCs, they are holding meetings and stuff like that. You get invited. They actually send messages to WhatsApp group, Instagram is there, post on campus. You get what I mean? So I think they do try their hardest. They do try their hardest, but some people are just ignorant in general. So it's not possible to force everyone, but I think it's an opportunity to learn about these things, because then varsity, I think it offers a lot of opportunities. I don't think it would be fair for us to say there should be a module in every course that teaches you about. I mean, it can be done. It can be done, but they do try to portray things like that. I think we're holding a memorial service for Olorato, the girl. So those things like that are important. You get what I mean? Yes.
When you come to higher institution, you're actually a little bit exposed to this kind of conversations and stuff like that. And it's up to you to choose if you want to be part of the conversations. So you mentioned something about people being ignorant, right? Do you think that is like a problem to the South African youth, that most of them are actually ignorant to this kind of things? Or is it's okay as long as they do whatever that they want to do?
Um, uh, we can all be there. We can all be heroes. I may put it. I think people love to live their lives freely without getting involved in certain types of things. I think it's comfortable. It's from a place of comfort. So when you're not marching down the streets, you're comfortable. You're in your bed. You're watching Netflix. You get what I mean? So it's safer. I should say it's safer for them. It feels safer to do that. But also, you should just, even if you don't partake in these things, maybe you should be aware of them, even if you don't partake. But yes, people are ignorant, and it's a problem. But we can't judge, because then it's a place of comfort for them. We can't all want to save people. You get what I mean?
Okay. So I want us to come back to the whole ignorant thing, and then people being in their comfort zone and stuff like that. But first, I want us to talk about the whole point of oppression, right?
Yes.
So like you did say that we're still oppressed.
Yes.
Right. And do you think the youth need to take action?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so how is the youth going to take action if they are sitting in their comfort zone?
Not everyone is.
Okay.
I was actually I was telling my friends that in the beginning of the year, there are people who tried, I don't know who, but there are people who tried to close down classes, have protests and all that about student fees not being paid, and students then kicked out from the varsity. And I was like, those people, they were like 20 most, you get what I mean, 10 to 20 people, and they were threatened that they would be expelled if they don't stop what they are doing.
Yeah.
And what they were doing would actually come to effect if numbers were out.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
get what I mean?
Yeah.
If people weren't just kataba,
Yeah.
I'm scared to,
Yeah.
you get what I mean,
Yeah.
to be expelled. I mean, if you think about it, if out of I think as vets we have there is about 37,000 students enrolled. Do you think if 7,000 of them protested, they would kick them all out?
No,
you get what I mean?
no.
So that's what the problem is with ignorance now, because it limits us. If 5 people are fighting and 100 are sitting at the back, it doesn't really bring anything to table. That's why there are more people who are in their comfort zone than there are people who are fighting for liberation. You get what I mean? That's why it's not really effective. Fish.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know what, I do understand your point, and I think it's a very, very great point what you're saying, that we need to fight for the people who are coming after us, right? Because to be honest, someone also fought for us to have this small privilege that we have, right? Let's just say privilege at the moment, because honestly speaking, education at this moment is kind of a privilege, because there's some people who are sitting at home, they are more smarter than people who are actually here, but because of they didn't get the opportunity to be, let's say have money for some application fees and stuff like that, they couldn't make it to university. So it is up to us as the youth of South Africa to actually fight. You get what I'm saying? Let it be like a process. You get what I'm saying? Someone has started this, and then we come after. And also they're gonna fight for something else.
That's true.
We're also going to fight for things. Okay. So I want us to talk about the systematic racism. Right.
Okay.
Do you think that there is still systematic racism? Okay. First, I want to ask you: do you think we're still oppressed outside of our mind?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think because then psychological liberation gets to a point. Get what I mean? It's like how you might be liberated to know that you deserve education, but still can't have education because you don't have money to pay for it. You get what I mean? So to a point, yes, we are still oppressed by other factors.
Okay, what other factors are there?
It could be economical. I think money is something
very, very, very
that is
huge factor
that oppresses the black community. Yes.
Okay, so I want us to explore that kind of oppression, right?
Yes.
Economic but oppression. Okay, so how are we oppressed as black people economically? Do you think
as
we're
black
limited
people,
to some kind of success?
yes.
Uh-huh.
As black people, we don't really come from a point of generational wealth.
Okay.
You get what I mean?
Uh-huh.
We are usually isolated with I don't know what's the word, connected to poverty or something like that. You associated with poverty. So we're not really from a state of wealth, from a state of having something to exchange for something else. So I think, for example, when school fees in lower school levels from grade 1 to grade 12, there were still school fees, right?
Yeah.
So people couldn't pay for those fees. That's why our parents don't have education.
Yeah.
So till a point that they were cancelled, then we could have education. Then there's higher education now, still has school fees. So we can't pay for those things.
Yeah.
That's why you have your NSFAS. They are trying, but it's not enough. You get what I mean? Because still NSFAS cuts to a certain student number. You get what I mean? So it's still not free. So some people are still oppressed by that, because you say, would see, like you just said, there are people who are smarter than us who are still at home because they couldn't have money to pay for application fees. You get what I mean? Someone didn't even, after they got accepted, they didn't even have transport to come from the Northern Cape to Joburg. You get what I mean? Those things still oppress us. They still limit to a certain point our success.
So do you think like there's an action that needs to be taken for, what kind of action
definitely.
do you think?
First of all, things like it's like how we have buses here to go to Rosebank. You get what I mean? Things like that should be taken into consideration. Can we, as the government, as the system, as the university, can we actually look at a person's background and say, this person is actually from place of poverty, real poverty, but they did well so far to fend for themselves, to strive for themselves. So can we do something about that? Can we offer them free education? Can we take them from the Northern Cape, pay for their bus fees to come to Joburg? Can we accept from certain backgrounds applications that do not have application fee, that maybe a program or something like that, to say, I have, my parents are not working.
I think they do have that
affidavits.
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure, but I think I had something about like when you don't have the money to pay for application fee, you can just do have an affidavit and stuff like that. But the thing is, I don't think a lot of people know about that.
That's the problem. That's the problem. So maybe if it does, because I don't know about it.
I'm also not sure. I'm not sure.
I think things like that should be known to people, because there are bursaries, but also they are selective in terms of picking out who they fund and who. So maybe the university should do a background check. They should, you get what I mean, try to say, it's like, I think in economics we have this thing of price discrimination. So everyone pays according to their status. You get what I mean? So poor people shouldn't pay. They don't have the means to pay anyway. You get what I mean? So
okay, so
that would be fair.
I hear what you're saying. It's a very good point, but I want to ask you about, like, because higher institutions are businesses, right? And honestly speaking, I feel like they look for their own economic interest, right? And do you think that is like a problem?
It is a problem. I mean, it's still education.
It is
Even
still
if
education.
it's business, it's still education. It's still something that people should get. You get what I mean? But can they not provide for all people? Don't you think there is enough money actually to provide for all people? I mean, I look around like that. There are many things that I see that are unnecessary.
Okay,
You get what I
okay,
mean?
okay.
For me, it's like I could make an example of when we talk about individual and collective liberation. If a person can not to feel entitled,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
but if you can build a house, or you can even buy a watch of 5 million. You get what I mean? 5 million can feed about like 1 million people in South Africa. You get what I mean? So
Yeah.
it comes to that, is there not enough money, or the money is just used for other things that do not really matter? You get what I
So
mean?
people focus on their like individual interest, and then they forget that we are all in the struggle.
You get what I mean? Those things happen. So
I understand.
I don't think they can't do it. I don't think they cannot. They don't have the means. It's just
they just don't want to do it.
Yeah, they're thinking of personal interests.
I want us to talk about like the people who are controlling let's say the higher education system.
But the president is black, isn't it? I think sometimes the system stifles the black people who are in higher positions to make decisions. And also greed. I think when you are in a higher position, I mean, as a president, you live in the White House. It's not really, you're not really in a place of discomfort anymore. You get what I mean? For example, I think people like Nelson Mandela, they came from homes that were disadvantaged. They came from poverty. So when you reach that state of comfort, sometimes the mind doesn't really feel as much sense of agency as when you were in poverty. You get what I mean? It's like what I was saying, would see collective liberation and individual liberation can have a big difference to the society in terms of contributing to the society. Yes.
Okay, so you think like what you're saying is that the people who are at the top can be black,
yes,
but the thing is they are only looking for their individual interest and individual liberation.
Yes,
they forget
that is some of the factors, but also the system itself it can be too broken to be fixed at once. You get what I mean? A person can try to a certain point. Get what I mean?
So the system might limit them from doing.
Yes.
Okay, so I want us to also talk about the Black is beautiful, the next generation of Black is beautiful, right? Okay, so what does it mean to you, this phrase, Black is beautiful?
I think it can mean beauty in terms of appearance, because black people are beautiful. I think the reason some people think that the reason a white excluded us from themselves is because they thought we are not deserving, we are not beautiful enough to deserve good things. But I think black people are beautiful, but also it means in sense of black people are actually capable of doing great things as well.
Okay.
Get what I mean? Black is beautiful in terms of black people can also bring good change
they
to
are
the
worthy
country.
of
Yes.
okay.
They can bring economical growth. They can contribute a certain amount of wellness to the society as a whole. You get what I mean?
Okay,
yes.
so do you think the phrase black is beautiful is used in a good way? Like do you think it is used to make people conscious, aware?
Not really.
Yeah,
not really, no. I think when people hear black is beautiful, they associate it with physical appearance.
Okay.
Yes. Which is not really relevant. You get what I mean?
Okay, so what about the businesses that use it as a slogan? Because most of the time they'll be selling, let's say, textured, hairpiece, whatever, and then they'll say, black is beautiful. What do you think of it?
That is physical appearance. Like saying
they focus too much on physical appearance.
It's like saying black clothes are beautiful. That's like physical appearance. It's not something that really makes people aware. I mean, it's good for the mind. When you are a black person, it's good to know that people think that your color is beauty, is associated with beauty, but it's not really relevant, is it? Because now you are associating everything with color. If we were to say as black people, to feel safe in the country, everything must be painted black. It doesn't really benefit us in anything. You get what I mean? It's not really relevant to us. Doesn't really do us any good. You get what I mean? So I don't think it's relevant, but it's good. It's good for the mind, but it's not relevant.
It's not relevant for the whole
for the liberation,
for the liberation and stuff like that. Okay, so I understand. So I wanted us to go back to what's this thing as systematic racism, right? I think I did mention it. I want us to go back there. I want us to discuss that. What does systematic racism mean? And do you think that we're still under, there's still systematic racism, stuff like that?
I think so. Although it is kind of limited now, it's not as big as it used to be, but there's still some parts of it, I think. I was actually speaking to my brother last day. I was telling him, would see this other classmate of mine was telling me his white, so he was telling me, would see he got like level 3s in maths and stuff like that. You get what I mean? So I was kind of offended. I was like, I got here with a level 7. What do you mean? You get what? So I told my brother, but he was like, those are white people. This it's not the same standards that you get in the university as they get in the university. So I still think if a white person can get into a course that requires a level 7 from a black person, what does that mean in terms of our system? What does it tell us? You get what I mean? Is there equality in that? You get what I mean? So I think to a certain point there is black empowerment, so that's good. But to a certain point, in some areas of our system, there is still.
Okay, so I want us to talk about the whole, because I also heard it. I also heard people say that, you know what, as a white person, you can get into university with like a level 3 and stuff like that. But what does that say about black people? What does that say?
I think to a point, it does tell us that we are smart enough, I guess, but it also tells us that the system requires a lot from us. It puts us under a lot of pressure, which is oppression. Because then you have to do, it's like to get 1 million, I have to dig a 1 meter hole. You have to dig a 6 meter hole. You get what I mean? So we don't put in the same amount of work for at the same price. You get what I mean? So it's not fair.
Okay, so I want us to also talk about like the limitations to psychological liberation.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. I think when we talk about individual liberation, it, to be honest, if you get to a point of being liberated and actually making it and sitting in high positions and thinking that another black person has to work hard for the position you are in right now, then you might not actually understand liberation in itself. Because that's what I said. We could see we have to look at the place that people like Steve Biko were in. We don't have to cut some of the things they said and take what is convenient to us. You get what I mean? Because then individual liberation limits collective liberation. So we have to do it in a collective manner. You get what I mean?
Okay, I understand, right? I think I want us to touch on this topic, right?
Yes.
I think that sometimes when what's this thing? People tend to liberate themselves individually because the system allows them to do that, right?
Yes.
I feel like most of the time it's a matter of like, you know what, they don't want like a lot of black people
coming
to
in.
actually be aware.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying? It's
Yes.
like, okay, they can pinpoint to saying, okay, at least let's just have like 5 people so that it looks like there is progress.
Black empowerment.
There's, black
Yes.
empowerment. So what do you think of that?
Yes, you're totally right. I mean, if you look at life itself, it's like you were saying, universities are black businesses. You get what I mean? So when a black person gets to a point of comfort, gets to a point of success, you get what I mean? They tend to feel like there's not enough. So if, for example, it's like many people say, I think it's about greed, but people say, you could see the wealthiest people they live most fearfully because they are scared to lose their money and so forth. They don't sleep well at night. I think that also explains greed itself. So black people, when they make it, they think there's not enough for all of us. So they think maybe if I help this person, they might take a portion of my money. If
there's help competition within the black community.
I mean? So there's division already. So I think it can never one can never say they are liberated if they still think like that. I mean, to be honest.
Do you think this is something that was instilled in us during apartheid?
Yes.
In the black people during apartheid. You say, you know what? If you help another black person, they will step you. They will step you in the back, or they will take your position. You get what I'm saying? So, do you think this is something that was instilled during that time?
Yes, it starts with you know how back in apartheid, white police used to hire black people to become police, and then when time comes to beat black people, they would use black people to beat them up. So in your mind, that was what can I say, a psychological effect on black people to say it might be your own people that betray you.
So they were very strategic with it.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I understand where you're coming from to say that, you know what, they turn our backs against each other.
Yes.
To say, you know what, if we because is this because they know the kind of effect we would have as a collective?
Yes, but white people are pretty smart.
Very
like they
smart.
know this psychological thing. So it's like how now you have a black president and people have anger. And people have anger towards the president. They're like, why doesn't he do this? Why doesn't he do that? But you might find out when you actually reach there, you would see it's not him. It's not
even as easy as we think it would be.
You get what I mean? So they do feel like there's good in empowering a few black people, and then using those to suppress the minor ones. You get what I mean?
Okay.
It's a strategy. It works.
It's a very good strategy.
Yeah.
If you look at it. Okay, so again, going back to the whole apartheid, what are other things that the apartheid what's this thing? What are other things that were there during apartheid that are still here, but we can't see them like with? You have to realize them. You can see them with like the naked eye.
Okay, I think maybe in the black of minds, in the black minds, status. You get what I mean? Status is still there. Still an effect of apartheid to say, a person deserves this person deserves that. If you have money, you deserve this. If you have money, you deserve that. If you drive a car, you deserve this. You girls like men with cars. You get what I mean? So there are still some effects, you get what I mean, that are not, because now they are not really of white people only. Now there are some black people in those seats that you may view as you may put on a pedestal. You get what I mean? So
okay, so the whole Burger King having a few people, black elites up there, it's more like what's this thing, an illusion that okay, there is equality, right? But do you think there is equality?
It's not enough.
There is a little bit of equality, but it's not enough.
It's not enough. If you think about it, I was actually thinking about it. So let's see, white people still don't know what poverty is. White people still don't live in rural areas. You get what I mean? They are associated, if they are in a rural area, they have a farm there. They have something there, you get what I mean, to extort some little money that we have. But we are here to see white people who have who are on the same standards as us. Why is there that black people are the only ones who are still in poverty. A white person can never go to a school that has limited education. You get what I mean? In white people's schools, there are computer labs. They actually do real lab stuff. You get what I mean? They don't watch it on a YouTube video and say, this is how we do it, guys. They do it. You get what I mean? So I think that the inequality still like there's still a lot of gap. You get what I mean? That's why I was saying we are still the ones who have to fight for the next generation. The fight has not yet been won.
Okay, so what does equality mean to you? Does it mean that when we say South Africa is like equal, right? I don't think, this is just my personal view, I don't think there's ever going to be like an absolute equality. But like, let's say we are closer to absolute equality. What does that mean to you? Does that mean that we have equal number of black and white people in rural areas, or we just have equal opportunities for everyone?
I think equal opportunities, because if you were to say equal numbers, black people are more than white people in South Africa.
Okay,
so
they are the majority.
It wouldn't be equal. So I think equal opportunities, yes. For example, same rules should be placed for everyone. You get what I mean? Same rules should be there for everyone. To say, if a course needs level 7, everyone should get there with a level 7, not difference in levels. You get what I mean? To say, if a job opportunity says, no, here we want people under the age of 30, there shouldn't be now a white, black man or woman who's 35 who's getting into the job that was requiring people under 30. And if you are a black person and you are over 30, they just trash you out. You get what I mean? So I think it should be that. I think there should also be a same number of respect to black people as there is to white people. I think sometimes there's
still that lack of
there's still lack of respect to black people in the communities. Yes. Okay,
so what message would you have for the youth, like around the conversation of black consciousness, freedom, freeing themselves?
Yes.
Where do you think they should start?
I think they should start being in organizations. They should start being around places of people who are trying to, or who have knowledge of these things. For example, attend meetings like maybe there's a movement, there's I think, what do they call it? What do they call it?
Protesting.
Protest, yes. Protesting. Maybe there's a march of some sort. Like there was a Biko march, I think, in some time in there. They should go and participate in those things, because then some people talk in those things, and those little things that they talk about may influence how you think and how you see things. Watch YouTube videos, learn about Steve Biko and stuff like that. You will have a sense of knowledge, at least to what's going on, to what we should be looking at, to what was fought for. Is it now being won? You get what I mean? You have to look at those things, but I still think the youth of nowadays is still ignorant, unappreciative.
So what about, because I feel like what you're saying applies to the people who are, let's say, in higher institutions and who are in environments that allows them to do that, right?
Yes.
So what about the youth that is at home, right? The youth that don't have data to watch YouTube, the youth that are not exposed to this kind of organizations, right? What about them?
That's that makes me think. I think with those, it becomes a sense of who can help. You know what I mean? What you are portraying is someone who cannot necessarily help themselves. You know what I mean? So maybe us who are exposed to those things, when you get home, tell your sisters, tell your friends. You get what I mean? Inform them of when you call them to talk about these things. Maybe now, or when they are with their friends at home, they talk about those things. But then it becomes a thing of how many people can you actually pull into this. Because I think when you say that now, it hits my mind a little bit, because at home you never have these things of we're gonna meet in a hall and talk about these things.
And I think also conversations like this, they are considered intellectual conversations, but I don't think they should be considered that.
General knowledge.
I just feel like these are the conversations that should be had, like, you know, randomly,
exactly.
You know, when we're just sitting.
It shouldn't be a privilege.
It shouldn't be like a privilege, and people shouldn't be scared to participate in this kind of conversations. And I feel like we are the ones that should be, you know, holding those conversations with the people that don't get the opportunities that we
definitely.
Did.
I will look into that. Yes.
So we are now concluding. Do you have anything that you want to say to the audience?
Thank you for watching, guys. Be aware, be conscious. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, thank you for watching this episode on this third episode on young, aware, and becoming. Hope to see you in another episode. Thank you.